What is up, YouTube? This is Michael from Team Dreadnought, bringing you a bit of something different. So normally we don't playtest anything. Well, we playtest it, we don't do it on camera, and we usually don't have any proxies for the camera, but because this deck is honestly a lot of fun to me, and I personally love Royal Paladin, I'm going to go ahead and bring you a early premium build for Jewel Knights. I think the deck is insanely fun, and honestly, probably the most fun I've personally ever had with the format. We'll start with the main deck. A V starter, it can be any V starter. It's just good to get the draw and stays in soul, and it's just going second gives you a quick shield. We'll go ahead and get rid of the triggers because I just want to get those out of the way real quick. I'm currently playing the 4 Sentinel PGs. I think it's just the best possible play because you don't really want to waste any main deck slots on PGs, so playing the draws is just better. Then for crits, we're playing 4 Scent Flare Draco Kids. Always play 4 your Stride crit for the most part. It's just able to Stride for cheap is just really good. And it's just one more card. I don't like discarding Ashley's to Stride, so. Then for also crits, we are playing 1 Amulet Pure Eagle. You can honestly play 3 of this if you would like, but I'm personally playing 2 of the Jewel Knight crits, we'll get to in a second. But I like this, it's still good. When you're Vanguard attacks, you can put it in Soul, it gets +10 to end a battle, and you draw a card. I help you Soul, Salome. But I actually like 2 of the crits for Jewel Knights. It's at the end of your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Jewel Knight in its card name, and you have 3 or more other Jewel Knight rearguards, you can put it back in deck to draw a card. This is good because it gives you another card you can call for Salome. It also gives you a card you can find off top 3 for a Sybil, so it doesn't really miss very often. I like 2 of it. I wouldn't recommend going any higher, but I can honestly see you cutting it if you prefer. I just really like the 2 of it. 1 over trigger because you have to. So not playing Ultima, I just think it's better for the over trigger. And then 4 Innocent Ray. In Premium, I always recommend playing the Heal Guardians as the format can get really aggressive really quickly. And you're discarding them for your G guards most of the time anyway. So I recommend the 4 Innocent Ray. When it comes to grade 1s, it is going to be 4 Mortius. This is no secret. It's one of the new Jewel Knight grade 1s, so A, it's a 10k shield. And B, it's just really good. When something's placed in the same column as it, same circle as it, you draw 1 card. And then it's counterboss 1, put a normal unit to the bottom of your deck, and soul charge 1, and one of your Jewel Knights gets +5. You're playing a Restander in Salome, so if you need to give it +5, you can do that. But you won't typically because of your striding on top of it, which gives it initially a +15, so +13. You don't typically use the grade 1 effect as much anymore because your counterboss is used for other things, but it's still really good. And then 4 of the new Jewel Knight grade 1, this card is insane. At the end of the battle that it boosted, you can put a normal unit to the bottom of your deck to soul charge 1 and put this back in your hand. This is good to rush with. You can get it off of Sword Me early game and just give yourself a free card. And its other effect is when your other unit is placed on this unit's circle, choose a unit in the same column as this and retire it. So you get to pop one of your opponent's units, and that's just really good. And if you can't pop, you draw a card. So it's just another grade 1 that draws you a card. Honestly one of my favorite cards from the set. I'm only playing 3 of the grade 3 top 5 searcher. I think it's really solid, but I don't know if I'd really play any more. Finding Salome is important, and so is Ashley, but I don't really have the extra room. So 3 is fine. I don't really want more of it. And then 2 of Calling Jewel Knight Christine. I actually like this card a lot. Its effect is counterboss 1, and you reveal a grade 3 from your hand. If you have 3 or more other Jewel Knight rearguards when you play it, you may pay the cost. If you do, call a Jewel Knight grade 3 from your deck. At the end of turn, it goes back to your hand, you discard 1. This is really good because it allows you to call an Ashley early game and then just beat them down if you go first on while they're on grade 1. You're giving them counterblast sadly, which isn't always the best option in Premium, but if you think you can finish the game pretty quickly, I would just highly recommend doing it. Plus, it can help you get your Salome or Ashley, and if all you have is a Heal Guard in hand, it allows you to get to the grade 3 you need to ride. Honestly, really solid card. I like 2 of it. I almost want to cut one of the Baby Miles for a 3rd one of that, but I'm currently liking the 3 too. For grade 2, this is going to be the most expensive part of your deck, and I recommend you get them, but if you don't want to spend the money on them, I also understand. Jewel Knight Sword Me is going to be one of those cards that helps the deck so much that I do recommend picking them up, but the price is just insane. Counterboss 1 card with Jewel Knight in its name. When this is played on rearguard, you search your deck for a grade 1 or lower Jewel Knight. You can call lower, right? Yeah, grade 1 or less, yeah. To call it to rearguard. Most of the time, you're going to be calling the one that you can bounce back to hand to have a booster and then a 10k shield, or just have another thing to call off Salome. This card is always going to be pretty solid. Sadly, your triggers are not Jewel Knights, and neither is 3 of your grade 1s, but the rest of your deck is Jewel Knights. If you take a damage and it's not a Jewel Knight, just kind of save this. Just a really good card. Its price tag is still unwarranted, so I'm hoping sooner or later they'll actually reprint it one day, but it's really worth it for this deck. 4 Explode Jewel Knight Lael. When you attack with this, you put 2 normal units to the bottom of your deck to gain +5 and Soul Charge. The Soul is very needed for Ashley, and I think it's very needed for Salome as well, being a Soul lost 4. Then when something's played in her circle, you give it +10. So when you're multi-attacking and you can kind of hit past defensives, it's just really solid. If you have 1 force marker on one side, this on the other, when you call the 2 off Ashley, you're allowed to basically hit both past defensives. It's really solid. This is honestly one of my favorite cards. The 3 new Jewel Knights you get in the set coming up is just really amazing for Jewel Knights as a deck. It's Sybil. Her effect is when something's placed on her circle, you look at top 3 and you call a grade 2 or less Jewel Knight. So sadly, it can't call Ashley, but it's fine. Its second effect is when it attacks, you can choose a grade 2 or less card in your hand and put it in your soul to draw a card. Yes. It's very decent to use that effect. You can get a soul and you can just hand cycle. I didn't really use it much, but it's not bad if you're going and you just need to attack and get a better swing. It's not horrible, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. The first effect is really good because it allows you to chain attacks if the Ashley's just on rear guard and you kind of want to keep going. Or when you Salome, if you call it a here, here, and here, you can kind of get the booster for the other column. Just really solid. And then 4 Pure Heart Jewel Knight Ashley. For those of you who don't know, it's Soul Boss 2 after it attacks to call a Jewel Knight. And if you call a grade 2 or less Jewel Knight, and then if it's on Vanguard, you call 2 grade 2 or less Jewel Knights. And then when something's placed on her column, you can counter boss 1 and give it a critical. Really solid card. Your attack extender past Salome. Honestly, again, I keep saying in every Royal Paladin video, this is just, the Jewel Knight engine is such a crucial part of the clan right now. And then 4 Salome. This card is just insane. When something's placed on her circle, you can counter boss 1, give it a drive check and 10k, right? You give it 10k? You also give it 10k. Forgot about that sometimes. 10k and a drive is just really solid. In premium, you're gonna place Crystal Luster on this card's circle, and that makes Crystal Luster a 38 quad drive. That doesn't lose a check on restand. Its other effect is at the end of battle that it attacks, you can counter boss 1, choose any number of cards with Jewel Knight in the name, and call them to occupied rear guards. So the units don't have to be Jewel Knight that are occupied in those rear guards, but you have to call the Jewel Knights. Then, if you called 3 units, Soul Blast 4 and restand. So Crystal Luster is going to inherit this effect, thus becoming a quad drive that restands that can call a full board, which can be Ashley's that keep chaining attacks. Not to mention, I'll get to his GB3 later, but it's just insane. This boss unit for Jewel Knights is what makes this deck so relevant in premium right now, I think, in my opinion. When it comes to G-Zone, your G-Guards can kind of be whatever. I'll go ahead and get this out of the way. You can play a Dismal. I play 2 Maskell right now. You could easily cut this to 1 and maybe put in another G-Guard. Royal Paladin's weakest aspect is that their G-Guards just aren't that good. What's your name? Androgeus. I didn't really use this card very often. It's not terrible, but I don't see you using it most of the time. It's just there for usually flipping.
Is this size?
And then Mixed Element Colburn. This, I think, is probably your best Royal Paladin G-Guard. When it's played on Guard Circle, you can discard 1, and then it gains 5 shield for every 2 cards your opponent has in hand. Because of Crystal Luster's GB3, if they're at a high damage count, but a very sizable hand size, you can kind of whittle through that hand, but this can help you live if they're building a lot of hand.
Yeah, he's good. Dude, he's a Royal Paladin. It's Honorary Knight Colburn.
Honorary Mixed Element Colburn. 1 Agnos. This can be anything. It can be another G-Guard if you'd prefer. It can be the 4th Evangeline. I just like playing Agnos because I think it looks kind of cool. It's not really relevant. I'm currently playing 3 Climax Jewel Knight Lord Evangeline. It's not good. I like to flip it for Crystal Luster because it's a Jewel Knight and it's kind of pretty. But this can also be more G-Guards or anything you'd prefer. Its effect is once a turn, act, get flipped for Crystal Luster. But it can give Jewel Knights power, but they're just what's on board, so it doesn't give her the continual ability like Regalia used to, so it's just almost never worth going into. It's pretty to flip. 2 Twin Sword. You will occasionally go into this once in a maybe never. It is counterboss 1. At the end of the battle, he's boosted. Beginning of the battle, he's boosted. You can call 2 grade 2s, and whenever someone's called from the deck, it gains 5. If you have a long game somehow before you deck out with like using Crystal Luster twice, maybe go Twin Sword because you can multi-attack with Ashley and it might not be horrible. But once again, pretty much just flip fodder Crystal Luster. They're there. They're pretty cool looking. I like them. Crystal Luster Dragon. This is the only thing you'll probably be shredding a large roar at a time. Twin Sword is good if you're behind and you don't have anything else to do that turn and your hand is just that bad. Crystal Luster is your go-to every other time. His effect is once per turn, you can flip any card in your G zone, the one that looked kind of pretty, and copy the effect of its heart. So therefore you'll be copying Salome, and hell, you can even copy Ashley if you're in that predicament. It's just insane. And then GB3 is where this card truly gets insane with all the other effects. If you have 3 or more grade 2 or greater units, you get a when your opponent would guard, they have to call 3 cards at once. Now keep in mind when you stride this over Salome, you then use the effect, and you're at GB3. They have to guard the rear guard with 3, the rear guard with 3, the Salome with 3, the rear guard with 3, the rear guard with 3, the Salome with 3. If they're at 5, that's just insane amounts of pressure and almost impossible to live. That's not even counting any Ashleys you have to kind of cycle more attacks in there. This card is just really, really amazing. And I think it's honestly forever going to be the Royal Paladin Stride, because as long as they keep making decent V grade 3s, this is all you're going to want to go into. There is another premium collection coming up, but I don't foresee it replacing Crystal Luster just due to how strong the card is. We might do more of these in the future, but that was Jewel Knights. I think it's very fun. I recommend picking up this stuff now before it raises any more in price. I definitely think it's a good, strong contender for premium, and I will definitely have more videos testing the deck. See you guys later.